Salutations and greetings have you. Heaven is I Huda. This is. May the fourth be with you. I speak. I jest. Much confusion there is. So I'll go back to Johnny. Anyway, good morning, greetings and salutations. This is the Who the Heaven is I podcast, episode numero, I think it's 18 at this point. I have to go back through my notes, but yeah. And this is a very special episode, as this is, dun dun dun, May the 4th be with you. Yes, that's right. This is, in fact, May the 4th, 2024. How's everyone feeling out there? I hope you're feeling amazing like I am. I do my best to have a positive attitude when I wake up, and I had a pretty darn good day yesterday, so that usually, springboards me into the next day. But the crazy part about yesterday is I woke up at like 3 o'clock in the morning, and I didn't go to bed till like 1:30, so I'm feeling a little lethargic, but I had some serendipitous random conversation last night to end the night off that was quite fun. And so because of that, I'm ready to share my experiences and my fun and just my inner monologue with you, and maybe, something I say resonates with you. Maybe you can give me some feedback and help keep me on track with my mission to save the world before bedtime. And I guess, starting there, it's like, I've got to save myself before bedtime before I can save the world for bedtime. And, if you think about that song from the 80s, we are the world. So in essence, start inward, then work outward. And that is our topic of today. Boys, girls, men, women, creatures of the universe. That is right. Today's episode is all about radical optimism. Say it with me. Radical optimism. One more time. Radical optimism. What does that mean to you? I know what it means to me. It means, keeping that positive mindset and radiating it regardless of the environment or feedback you get, in regards to just trying to be, doing good things and being optimistic that even though things sometimes go womp womp, that there's a flip switch that you can always find. And while radical optimism is something that is, besides being an album that just came out the other day by Dua Lipa, it's also something that could really, really, really change the world. And so I practice it probably pretty much my whole life. And I think, to some, it could be overwhelming and annoying, especially when people are in a funk, and here I am, sunshine, and I'm walking around like, hey, let's get at it, I talked about it on an earlier podcast when I was in high school, and I would wake up and jump right into music theory class at 8 o'clock in the morning and be bouncing around the wall full of energy because I heart the music. And, sometimes it was too much for people. Now, hey, listen, I get that. Sometimes that could be too much for people, but let's flip the switch on that. Maybe sometimes the negativity and the depression is too much, for me. Did anyone ever think about that? So sometimes we get caught in our own heads, right? And so if you take yourself outside of your own body, like I am totally cognizant of time and place. Like I'm not going to be walking into someone's funeral, bouncing around like, hey, how's everyone doing today? All right, yo, that's a nice casket. All right, yo, where's the after party? That's not how I roll. There is a time and place, on how I vocalize my optimism. But that being said, the most important thing with radical optimism is that it starts within. Like, as it's Mental Health Month, I'll share with you, I've definitely battled depression for years, and, stuff pops up here and there. But, a lot of my depression, from what I've analyzed of myself, is me setting expectations that are unrealistic for those around me. Like, I am myself, and I've found this uncanny way to always find the positive in things for the most part. There's certain things that are just straight trash and evil. But you know, I progress in saying that, kind of like the Grinch, even in all evil acts, like, I think, the road to good intention, the road to hell was paved with good intentions, they say, and there's some truth. Like, if you go back to the movie Infinity Wars by Marvel and Disney and all that stuff, the superhero movie where Thanos, this bad guy, wants to get this gauntlet and snap his fingers so half the world disappears because he feels the world is overpopulated. Actually, the universe is overpopulated, right? And it's an interesting concept, because his intention was good. He wants to underpopulate the world, but, like, hey, bro, you ain't the God. Like, why do you get to control what happens? And why do you think that eliminating half the people is going to solve all your problems? Because maybe you eliminate all the positive people, and then you're in a cesspool of negativity, and that is not radical optimism. That's radical pessimism. That one didn't roll off the tongue good. Radical pessimism. Yeah. And that's really, when I listen to music and watch videos, movies, TV, and I don't do a lot of the movies and TV stuff of late. Sometimes, there's some negative messages out there, which you can learn from. Like we don't want to, totally, like, PC all the history books, because then we're not learning from our past. Although, during my conversation last night, I made the jest that maybe we should eliminate history from education, because the human beings of this world, don't seem to be learning from history. Do we not know, that the way that everything flows is going to be, if you put negative out there, hate, anger, fear, then it brings more of that. It's like the science of it all. It's like you're tuning in that, like, the brain is like a radio station, and it sends and receives. And in my experience, when I put positive vibes out there, positive vibes come back. Like, great example. Yesterday, my buddy Sydney, who runs the Crystal of Quartz crystal shop over in Vernon, New Jersey. If you've never been there, check it out. Check out the events calendar, especially May 31st, where they have a men's meetup, which is cool. Like Sydney is taking the time to put positive things out into the universe. And then Kevin, who's working on this men's event, it's nice to show guys gathering together, because, to be honest with you, especially in the later years of life where there's no, like, high school football or track or baseball, men don't gather the same way. They isolate, whereas women still gather and connect. And I think, personally, that's why women live longer, happier lives, because they don't get stuck in their silos. But what ends up happening is, Sydney, I've been thinking about lately, and I missed a couple of events due to transportational situations of mine. And I love to go to her events. They're always so positive. The energy is really good. The people are so nice, and they're good souls doing great things. And I like to always be around that and participate and help however I can. Much like how I'm going to, the Warwick Cares mental health awareness celebration today, and I'm going to help out, do photography and video. Like, Johnny just likes to do what he can to help those that are doing good things. That being said, so Sydney messaged me, and I messaged her back. I said, yeah, I definitely want to connect in the future, And I was like, man, love to connect with Sid. Too bad, she's so far away, not that it's so far, but, when your vehicular device isn't working, it's a bit of a bike ride or a walk. Anyway, that being said, lo and behold, who shows up in ShopRite? I bump carts, not literally, but figuratively, with her daughter, and Kevin, right there in the ShopRite bakery department. And I don't know. This happened twice this week. I was thinking of Judy Batista, and there she was, boom, right there in Opa, the Greek restaurant. So um, I just think the universe puts, who you need to be around you when they need to be there, and it's one of those things that it's magical. Now, it's it's challenging sometimes to maintain radical optimism when straight up you are you know in the dark, and there's a lot of negative like aspect coming at you. But I don't judge. Like, I understand people are going through stuff, and some people haven't figured out the secret sauce of like I always say is like, life could be worse. You could be lifeless in a hearse. And that's straight up like my philosophy. I've lost friends and family members for a multitude of reasons, some untimely, and it's always really sad and tragic when that happens, because it's like shock to the system when you lose someone before their time, and it's disruptive to the others in their lives, and it's also like something that makes you reflect. And I think for me, every time that someone in my life has passed away, I always reflect, and even more so appreciate the fact that I am able to wake up and experience another day on this planet. And for that, I'm eternally grateful. And that's where my radical optimism starts out. Like, listen, none of us have to be here. None of us have to actually, be granted passage throughout our day. I mean, you could be walking down the street and a piano could fall on your head. Not that there's many pianos on, in the clouds, but, I've seen it happen before. It happened in all those Laurel and Hardy movies where TV shows and stuff where they were just out there and slapsticking it around and piano comes out the window. Hey, you never know. But, taking each day and saying, hey, what can I do to honor myself as a human being? And then what can I do to honor others? And a lot of it is just by putting kindness out there. So although I am human and sometimes under extreme duress and instigation, I will alter the course of my mentality and match energy when it's being spewed at me. I do my best to maintain, hey, even though they're not happy with me and in a funk, I can't take it personally, because I don't know what they're going through. And even though I'm going through stuff, I said before, life could always be worse. It could be lifeless in a hearse. And that to me is radical optimism. Like, when you can, literally during last summer, I woke up, I got out of bed, and the dog where I was staying like shit like right around my bed. And so I stepped in shit, getting right out of bed. Now, normally, most people be like, F this and F that, I laughed and I just thought of Forrest Gump. Hey, it happens. And that's the reality. Stuff's gonna happen. You're still in the game. And so I'm still in the game. And I want to share with you something that, as mental health awareness, I think for me, when I go through tough times, I write music, I'll write poetry, I'll paint, I'll channel that energy, and I'll put it out into something different. I'll put it out to a song or a painting or go shoot some video, because I don't want to keep those emotions inside of me. I want to let them loose and get back to being a dude that's full of radical optimism. And so here's something that has helped me. One of the songs I wrote, when I get in situations that I find where I'm put in a state of, normally I'd be in fear or scared or something like that. And a lot of these songs, believe it or not, are written to myself, like me prescribing myself medicine. So it's like something I could sing in front of the mirror. And it's interesting because that's what Dua Lipa actually even said when, she was talking about her album Radical Optimism. Like her albums and songs are kind of like manifestations, and so that's kind of what I've been doing, for years, subconsciously. And then when she said that, I was like, yeah, that kind of resonates. Like the other day, I read the lyrics to a song called "Another Day," and today I'm going to read the lyrics to a song called "Naked Minds," because where I used to get hung up on was, people's perception of me as a people pleaser, someone that wants to see people happy. I need to know I need to make myself happy first. And by doing that, maintaining good boundaries and clear messages to others of what I'm doing, because then it allows them to set boundaries and understand what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. But, sometimes people, will make their own snap decisions and judgments on what I'm doing. And if I allow that to alter my course and my state of mind of what I know I'm doing and my mission is, then it could really send me into a spiral of depression. So this song was written back in 1999, right around the time of me going to a Foo Fighters and Red Hot Chili Pepper concert, and it goes a little something like this. This is called Naked Minds. I furnish the weapons with which you try to destroy me. Now these voices in my head are starting to annoy me. Ripping and pulling and ripping. I ain't ever done acid, but I feel like I'm tripping. Deceptively deceiving, my mind had me believing that there was no way of achieving a mutual understanding. I'm not trying to be your perfection. I'm only trying to make a connection. So come get naked, open your mind, and let the world inside. Open your mind and let the world inside. No longer in my head are voices that annoy me, just the answers I was seeking. Now it's time to deploy thee. Screaming and kicking and screaming. There's no need to wake up, as we are always dreaming. Coordinated deceiving, our minds had us believing that there was no way of achieving a mutual understanding. We don't need to become some perfection. We've only got to make a connection. So come, get naked, open your mind. Open your mind and let the world inside. Open your mind and let the world inside. Yeah. That was from Johnny, the artist currently known as the Solar Pilot. And for my estimations, it was written right around, actually, I have the notes here, July 31st in the year 2000. In the year 2000. As a youngin', I remember what it felt like to be like, oh, wow, the Y2K is coming. And it was a big deal at the turn of a century and a lot of anxiety. Oh, no, everything's going to shut down. But now it's like we've got, like 975 years, until we get to, because this year's halfway over, so you can say 76 if you want, until we get to the year 3000. Now, if we start with a little radical optimism within ourselves every morning and radiate that out by just, like Mama told me, if you have nothing nice to say, don't say anything at all, like just putting positive stuff out into the world. Imagine where we could all be by the Y3K. So hopefully you enjoyed this episode centered around radical optimism. And this is going to be a fun one. I have a giveaway because I'm starting to do classes over at the Creation Station on Main, over at 50 Main, the Bertoni Gallery. And straight up, I have a magic pet rock. That's right, a magic pet rock for the person in the audience that can tell me how many times I said radical optimism in this episode. I mean, there was another time right there. So poll questions can be found if you go to the Spotify app, and inside there's a little, section that'll show you where the question is. Or if you're on the website from Spotify, it won't show up in Apple Music. It won't show up in the Google, podcast. It won't show up in those areas. But in Spotify, you get the poll question. Or you can always call the cool line, 650-383-7469. The question is, 2 questions. One is, how many times was radical optimism said in this episode? And the second one is, do you wake up happy and grateful? 2 questions. Well, one's a poll question. One is just an open question. And I hope that someone out there is the winner of the Magic Pet Rock from the episode on radical optimism with me, Johnny, on the Who the Heaven Is I podcast. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to smash that like button and share it out to your friends and family if you find this valuable, or even if you don't find it valuable. It helps me if you share it out. And it helps someone out there because I've gotten some good feedback. So thank you. Have a great day. And may the 4th be with you always.